Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. At around 16:23 local time yesterday, 4:23 p.m. on September 8th, which is to say near the end of the weekday following the discovery of Kylie's laptop, which was September 7th, Nevada County Sheriff's Office didn't hold a press conference, but they did disclose to the media that they believe the investigation will be concluded, get this, in 2 weeks. Or to quote what was said verbatim, at least 2 more weeks. Before we get to the rest of this episode, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. Now, you may remember that there was an earlier report sent out by certain creators, and they heard back that they will be given feedback by the 1st of November. Well, 2 weeks is way before that. So that is likely what the minimum turnaround is to determine the toxicology. The article in the Reno Gazette Journal, I'll put a link to that in the description, basically gives us a sense that this is really a 3-tiered investigation. The first tier is, they say there's going to be a scientific analysis of the chemicals in Kylie's body, and that will provide a substantial fraction of insight into what Kylie herself was going through. Then the second tier is basically a scientific analysis of the vehicle. But there's also a third tier, and that is Nevada County Sheriff's Office also working separately from the California Highway Patrol to try to figure out what happened. That is things like doing interviews, looking at evidence, asking questions. And then there's also the FBI component. Typically the FBI get involved in kidnapping and missing persons cases, which this case doesn't necessarily comply with, or does it? Again, if you think about it, if the various investigative agencies and leads have been trying to piece together what happened, they've been doing so despite a huge evidence hole right in the center of their case. Think about the fact that the laptop hasn't been part of the inventory and other things as well. It appears like it could be things like items of clothing, a hairbrush, a charger cord, and so on. And so up until now, I think it's been a little like investigating a case with an eye patch or one hand behind your back, right? Investigatively speaking. Now, will the laptop, etc., simplify or complicate the investigation going forward? I would say that more evidence can only make the picture crystallize more clearly. That's my view. Now, the California Highway Patrol Assistant Chief Josh Ehlers has said that they'll be using science to figure out what happened to Kylie's vehicle. Now, imagine what they will do is they'll recreate the vehicle's entry into the reservoir using the available data. And that recreation is likely to be some kind of animation. They're probably going to use some kind of software to feed into a computer, provide all the data, things like the slope, the relevant calculus, specifically the exact distance and depth the vehicle was in, submerged when on the night of the incident, not when AWP found the vehicle. Also, the buildup of algae on the window to determine the length of time that the vehicle was submerged in the reservoir. And then perhaps even the onset of rust, all of those sort of factors. Now, according to the Reno Gazette Journal, quote, the investigation likely will be able to tell things such as what was happening to the car before it went into the water, and could include things such as if it was in a gear, if brakes were used, if it was hit, pushed or driven into the water, or if it had any mechanical issues, Ehlers said, right? That's one thing that the vehicle telemetry can pick up. Did somebody hit the brakes? I do wonder whether they'll be able to work out the speed of entry. The vehicle analysis is thus a kind of vehicular autopsy. In the 21st century, these can actually be quite accurate. If you don't believe me, let's go and look at a little bit of intertextuality. In the Chris Watts case, his work vehicle had GPS tracking, and authorities were able to determine on the night of the murders and the disposal, on that morning, what time his vehicle started, when he reversed up the driveway, each stop that it made, as well as the time-stamped route that it took. It's not clear whether Kylie's vehicle would provide this level of telemetry, but her phone might provide some additional insight as well, the pings and so on. And then there's also Barry Morphew. According to CBS, quote, authorities say Barry Morphew told them he went to bed around 8 p.m. on May 9, but his truck's computer shows the truck, seen in this evidence photo, was put in reverse and backed up towards the house around 9:30 p.m., right? The actual affidavit, in terms of the Morphew case, provides a far more intimate portrait of the vehicle's telematics. So have a look at page 128, attachment 4 from the 129-page affidavit. You see parking lights off, parking lights on, over and over and over again, and it's in quite a lot of detail, which gives you an idea where and when the vehicle is stopping and starting to some extent. You can also use the odometer to make some certain calculations as well. Then there's Letitia Stork. Vehicle telemetry also played an important role in the Gannon Stork murder investigation. I'll put a page from that particular affidavit there, but you can see quite clearly all the mapping that took place based on the vehicle's, I think it's NELOS data, right? It's from a Tiguan. In the pursuit of Vicky and Casey White, we know that the Cadillac's Onstar system provided remote diagnostic systems, leading to the vehicle automatically calling 911 during the fatal final moments of the pursuit of the two fugitives. I'm not an expert on onboard computers for vehicles, but certainly since 2000 they've become a lot more sophisticated. The Honda, like Kylie's laptop, may have an onboard computer that may or may not have been damaged by water. In many cases, even damaged digital files can be partially retrieved, and that may be the situation here. Kylie may have made use of a system such as Onenav or similar. So what do you think is more likely to definitively solve the Kylie Rodney case? Science or speculation? Well, the investigators are going to be using science. And what do you think the science will show? Do you think the science will show an accident or foul play? Jennifer Coffindaffer from the FBI has said on the 4th of September that her needle has swung towards foul play, but she's thinking about it being depraved indifference. I'm not sure if you can argue that negligence equals foul play in the calculus of this case, and I think we've got to be clear what we're talking about when we say foul play. I would say foul play is the intention by a specific third party to harm Kylie. In other words, you've got some real criminal intent, right? Foul play, playing into this suspicious narrative swirling around this case, is that somebody did something wrong and then intentionally tried to cover it up or hide it. That's foul play. I don't think you can say it is just indifference. Teenagers not helping her. Drinking and driving isn't foul play in our definition. Failure to intervene, while morally and ethically questionable, isn't foul play either. So let me know if you think there was foul play. What is your definition of it? Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.